My brother slapped his hand on my dining table so hard the wine glasses rattled. "You're making $180,000 a year, Rachel. You owe me this wedding. If you don't pay, Mom and Dad will cut you off forever." He leaned in close, his breath hot on my face. Is money really more important than family? I sat there in my own kitchen, in my own 3-bedroom condo in Seattle that I'd saved for 5 years to buy, staring at the 4 people who'd been living here rent-free for 2.5 years. My parents, my younger brother Dylan, and his influencer wannabe girlfriend Amber, who was currently examining her manicure like this conversation bored her. This was supposed to be a celebration dinner. Dylan had just announced his engagement to Amber an hour ago. I'd opened a nice bottle of wine, ordered Thai food from their favorite place, and genuinely tried to be happy for them. But somewhere between the pad thai and the mango sticky rice, the conversation had taken a hard left turn into crazy town. $195,000, I said slowly, making sure I'd heard correctly. You want me to give you almost $200,000. It's not giving, my mother Patricia chimed in, reaching over to pat my hand condescendingly. It's investing in your brother's future, in the family's future. I pulled my hand back. Mom, that's more than my entire annual salary. Exactly, Dylan jumped in, his voice rising. You make that much every year. This is a one-time thing. Amber deserves her dream wedding. Amber finally looked up from her nails and smiled at me. It wasn't a kind smile. When you get married someday, Rachel, we'll totally help you out. That's what family does. The implication hung in the air. When I got married, if I ever got married, at 34 and perpetually single because I was too busy working 60-hour weeks to keep a roof over all our heads, that seemed like a distant fantasy. Let me get this straight, I said, counting on my fingers. $45,000 for an engagement ring, $120,000 for a destination wedding in the Maldives, and $30,000 for a down payment on your apartment. That's what we're talking about? The ring is non-negotiable, Amber said, pulling out her phone and showing me a picture. Cartier. Every influencer worth following has one. My followers expect a certain aesthetic. I stared at her. Amber had 6,000 Instagram followers. 6,000. Most of them were probably bots. And the Maldives wedding? I asked. Babe wants an underwater ceremony, Dylan said, wrapping his arm around Amber possessively. It's going to get insane engagement. Plus, it's always been her dream. Your dream 3 months ago was a wedding at that barn venue in Snohomish, I pointed out. Amber rolled her eyes. That was before I saw Kylie Jenner's friend's destination wedding on TikTok. Keep up, Rachel. My father Marcus cleared his throat. He'd been quiet this whole time, which usually meant he was building up to something. Rachel, you need to understand something. Your mother and I sacrificed everything to raise you kids. Everything. And now that we need a little help, you're going to turn your back on us? The guilt trip. Right on schedule. Let me back up and explain how we got here. 2.5 years ago, in the fall of 2020, my father's small business collapsed. He'd owned a printing shop, the kind that did business cards and wedding invitations and promotional materials. COVID killed it. Nobody was having weddings, nobody was doing promotional events, and everyone who needed business cards ordered them online. My parents called me in a panic. They were going to lose their house. They had nowhere to go. Could they stay with me, just temporarily, just until they got back on their feet? I'd bought my condo 2 years earlier. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, in a decent neighborhood in Seattle. It was my sanctuary. I'd worked brutal hours as a software engineer at a major tech company to afford it. Weekends, nights, holidays. I'd learned to code in college while my friends partied. I'd taken every overtime shift, every difficult project, every opportunity to prove myself in a male-dominated field. This place was mine, my achievement, my safe space. But they were my parents. And it was COVID. The world was scary and uncertain. How could I say no? Of course you can stay, I'd told them, just until you get back on your feet. That was the first mistake. The second mistake was not setting ground rules. My parents arrived with Dylan in tow. At 26, he'd been between opportunities, which was family code for unemployed again. He'd changed careers 5 times in 4 years. First, he wanted to be a photographer, then a personal trainer, then a life coach, then a cryptocurrency investor, then a podcast host. None of them stuck. None of them made money. Dylan can stay too, right? My mother had asked. And before I could answer, they were unloading his stuff. Then came Amber. She and Dylan had been dating for 6 months. She was 24, pretty in an Instagram filter kind of way, and had zero personality beyond what she'd cobbled together from reality TV shows and social media trends. Amber's lease is up and it doesn't make sense for her to renew when Dylan's living here, my father announced one day. Just announced it. Didn't ask. So suddenly, my 3-bedroom condo housed 5 people. And here's where it got really insulting. My parents took the master bedroom, just moved into it like it was their right. When I protested, my mother said, "Honey, we're older. We need the space and the attached bathroom. You're young and flexible." Dylan and Amber took the guest bedroom. I got pushed into the smallest bedroom, the one I'd been using as a home office. My desk, my bookshelves, my carefully curated workspace all crammed into a corner of the living room. I was paying the mortgage. I was paying the HOA fees. I was paying the utilities. I was buying the groceries. And I was sleeping in the smallest room of my own home. But it was temporary, right? Just until they got back on their feet. Except they never tried to get back on their feet. My father would spend his days watching YouTube videos about failed businesses and how he'd been screwed by the system. My mother would meal plan elaborate dinners that I'd come home to cook after 10 hours at work. Dylan would sleep until noon, then spend the afternoon networking, which meant playing video games with his headset on. Amber would film TikToks in my living room, moving my furniture around to get better lighting. I paid for everything. The mortgage, the utilities, the groceries, my parents' medical bills, Dylan's car insurance, Amber's phone plan that she somehow got added to mine. In 2.5 years, do you know how much they contributed? 0. Not a single dollar. Oh, they had excuses. My father was too old to start over. My mother couldn't work because of her anxiety. Dylan was building his brand. Amber was going to be huge on social media any day now. Every time I tried to bring up money or ask when they might move out, I got the same response: guilt. After everything we've done for you, family takes care of each other. We raised you better than this. You're so selfish. And the worst part? I believed them. Some part of me actually believed that I was being selfish, that I should be grateful, that good daughters don't ask their struggling parents for rent money. So I worked harder, took on extra projects, got promoted to senior engineer with a raise to $180,000 a year, and poured every extra dollar into keeping the household running while my savings account slowly dwindled. I started seeing Dr. Kim 4 months ago. My coworker Jasmine had noticed I was falling apart, crying in the bathroom, panic attacks before going home, losing weight because I was too stressed to eat, which really meant I was making sure there was enough food for everyone else. "You need to talk to someone," Jasmine had said, and given me Dr. Kim's number. Dr. Kim was a therapist who specialized in family dynamics and boundary setting. In our first session, I cried for 40 minutes straight while explaining my living situation. "Rachel," she'd said gently, "can you tell me what you're getting out of this arrangement?" I'd stared at her. "What do you mean?" "Your family lives with you rent-free. They don't contribute financially. They've taken over your space. They dismiss your concerns. What are you receiving in return?" I'd opened my mouth to say love or family or support, but nothing came out, because the truth was, I wasn't receiving any of those things. Over 6 sessions, Dr. Kim helped me understand something crucial. I wasn't being kind or generous or family-oriented. I was being exploited. There's a difference between helping someone temporarily and allowing them to use you indefinitely. She gave me homework. Document everything. Every dollar spent, every boundary crossed, every guilt trip deployed. I started keeping a spreadsheet. In 2.5 years, I'd spent over $300,000 supporting my family. Meanwhile, I'd discovered through a carelessly left bank statement that my parents had $80,000 in savings. $80,000 they'd somehow accumulated while claiming to be broke. When I confronted them, my father had the audacity to say, "That's our retirement fund. That's completely different from day-to-day expenses. So you have money, you're just choosing not to spend it? We're saving it for emergencies. Dad, you've been living here for free for 2.5 years. That feels like an emergency to me." He'd walked away without answering. That was 3 weeks ago. I'd started setting small boundaries, asking people to clean up after themselves, suggesting that maybe Dylan could get a part-time job, wondering aloud when they might start looking for their own place. Each boundary was met with resistance, tears, anger, or the silent treatment. And now, sitting at my dining table, watching my brother demand almost $200,000 for a wedding, I realized Dr. Kim had been preparing me for this moment. "Let me ask you something, Dylan," I said calmly. "Why can't Amber's parents pay for the wedding? Traditionally, the bride's family pays." Amber's smile disappeared. "My parents don't believe in expensive weddings. They think it's wasteful. But me paying for it isn't wasteful? You can afford it," she snapped. "And why can't you and Dylan save up for it?" Get jobs, build your life together, save for the wedding you want? Dylan laughed. Actually laughed. Rachel, we're not going to wait years to get married just because you're being stingy. We want to get married next summer. The venue is only available in August. You already booked a venue? We put down a deposit, Amber said proudly. $5,000. Non-refundable. My heart sank. You put down a deposit using what money? Your credit card, my mother said quickly. The one you keep in the kitchen drawer for household expenses. We figured you wouldn't mind since it's for family. They'd stolen my credit card. Used it without permission. Put down a $5,000 deposit for a destination wedding I'd never agreed to pay for. I stood up so fast my chair scraped against the floor. You used my credit card without asking me? Don't be dramatic, my father said. It's not stealing if we're family. It's the literal definition of stealing. You're going to make a scene over $5,000? Dylan shook his head in disgust. You really have changed. Money has made you cold. Something inside me snapped. Maybe it was the therapy. Maybe it was 2.5 years of being used. Maybe it was the sheer audacity of demanding nearly $200,000 after they'd already stolen $5,000. You're right, I said quietly. I've changed. I walked to my bedroom, grabbed my laptop, and came back to the table. I opened my spreadsheet and turned the screen toward them. This, I said, is every dollar I've spent supporting you for 2.5 years. The mortgage, the utilities, the groceries, medical bills, insurance, everything. It totals $304,732. Silence. Mom, Dad, you have $80,000 in savings. I saw the bank statement. You've been lying about being broke while I've been working myself into exhaustion. My mother's face went pale. How dare you go through our personal papers? You left it on the kitchen counter. And you're deflecting. The point is, you have money. You're choosing not to contribute. That's our retirement, my father said firmly. And this is my life. Dylan, in 2.5 years, how many jobs have you applied for? I've been building my brand. That's not a number. Amber, how much money have you made from your Instagram? She shifted uncomfortably. It takes time to monetize. So nothing. You've made nothing. And now you want me to fund a $195,000 wedding while you've contributed literally $0 to this household. We're family, my mother said, her voice rising. Family helps each other. We raised you, fed you, put you through college. You didn't put me through college. I got scholarships and worked 3 jobs. I've been financially independent since I was 18. Because we raised you to be independent, my father countered. The circular logic was making my head spin. Dr. Kim had warned me about this. You can't reason with people who refuse to respect your boundaries. You can't set boundaries with people who don't believe you have the right to set them. Here's what's going to happen, I said, and my voice was steadier than I expected. I'm not paying for your wedding, Dylan. Not the ring, not the ceremony, not the down payment. None of it. Then we're done, Dylan said immediately. You're dead to me. And we're done with you too, my father added, standing up. If you can't be there for your family when it matters, then you're not our daughter anymore. My mother started crying. Loud, dramatic sobs. How did we raise such a selfish child? After everything we've sacrificed? I looked at each of them. My parents who'd manipulated me for years, my brother who'd never worked a day he didn't have to, his girlfriend who saw me as nothing but a wallet, and I felt relief. Okay, I said simply. They all stared at me. Okay, Dylan repeated. If that's how you feel, then okay. You have 48 hours to pack your things and leave. The room exploded. My mother's sobs got louder. My father turned red, veins popping in his neck. Dylan started yelling about betrayal and blood being thicker than water. Amber called me a selfish bitch and pulled out her phone to film me, probably planning some viral TikTok about evil family members. This is my home, I said over the noise. I've been more than generous. I've supported you for 2.5 years. You've shown 0 gratitude, 0 respect, and 0 intention of ever leaving. So now I'm making the decision for you. 48 hours. You can't just kick us out, my father sputtered. Actually, I can. You're not on the lease. You've never paid rent. Legally, you're guests, and I'm asking you to leave. If you're not gone in 48 hours, I'll file for a formal eviction. You'd really do that? My mother asked through her tears. You'd really choose money over your own family? And there it was again. The guilt trip. The manipulation. The same pattern that had kept me trapped for years. But Dr. Kim's voice echoed in my head. Someone asking you to set yourself on fire to keep them warm is not love. That's abuse. I'm not choosing money over family, I said quietly. I'm choosing my well-being over people who've shown me they only value what I can provide for them. There's a difference. I turned and walked to my bedroom, the small one that should never have been mine in the first place. Behind me, the yelling continued. But I closed the door and drowned it out. I called Dr. Kim. It was after hours, but she'd given me her emergency line. Rachel? What happened? I told her everything. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. How do you feel? She asked. Terrified, relieved, guilty, proud, all of it at once. That's normal. You just set the hardest boundary of your life. Your body is processing years of conditioning. But Rachel, you did the right thing. Did I, though? They're my family. Family doesn't exploit you. Family doesn't steal from you. Family doesn't give you ultimatums about choosing them or your financial security. What they're doing is abuse. Financial abuse, emotional abuse. You're not abandoning them. You're protecting yourself. I spent that night in my small bedroom, listening to them pack. Or more accurately, listening to them loudly discuss what a terrible person I was while they packed. I heard my mother on the phone with relatives, spinning the story to make me the villain. I heard Amber filming videos about toxic family members. I heard Dylan breaking something in the kitchen, probably out of spite. I changed my credit card numbers. All of them. I called my bank and reported the unauthorized $5,000 charge. They refunded it immediately and flagged my account for suspicious activity. The next morning, I worked from home. I stayed in my room with my laptop, door locked, while they moved around the apartment. At one point, my mother knocked. Rachel, honey, we need to talk about this. You're being irrational. 48 hours, I called back. That's all I have to say. You're really going to throw us out on the street? You have $80,000 in savings and extended family, who I'm sure will be happy to help. You won't be on the street. Those relatives are all calling to tell you what a disgrace you are. Then they can take you in. Problem solved. She didn't respond to that. By the evening of the second day, they were gone. My father left a note on the kitchen counter. It said, "You've broken your mother's heart. We will never forgive you. Don't contact us." I read it twice, then threw it away. The apartment was a disaster. They'd taken things that weren't theirs. My good knife set, some electronics, decorative items I'd collected over the years. Out of spite, Dylan had broken my favorite mug, the one I'd bought myself after my first promotion. Amber had left a mess of makeup and hair products in the bathroom. My parents had stripped the master bedroom bare, even taking the curtains. I walked through the space and felt lighter. Yes, they'd stolen from me. Yes, they'd damaged things. Yes, I'd have to replace items and clean up their mess. But the apartment was mine again. I spent that weekend cleaning. Deep cleaning. I took down Amber's ring lights. I moved my desk back into the second bedroom and set up my home office properly. I bought new curtains for the master bedroom and moved back into it. My bedroom. In my home. I ordered takeout from my favorite place, the expensive Thai restaurant I'd stopped going to because I couldn't afford it for 5 people. I ate pad thai on my couch, watching Netflix on my TV that wasn't fighting with Dylan's video games for bandwidth. It was quiet. It was peaceful. It was mine. On Monday, my phone started blowing up. Aunts, uncles, cousins, family, friends, all of them telling me what a horrible person I was. How could I kick out my struggling parents? How could I abandon my brother? Didn't I understand what family meant? I sent one mass text. If you're so concerned, they can live with you. Otherwise, stop contacting me. Only one person responded positively. My cousin Jessica, who I hadn't talked to in years. Good for you. They pulled the same thing on my parents 15 years ago. Lived with them for 3 years rent-free. I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. I blocked everyone else. The extended family tried one more tactic. They started a group chat without me, planning an intervention. My Aunt Beth called me. Rachel, we're all getting together on Saturday to talk about this situation. We think if we all sit down as a family, we can work this out. Aunt Beth, with all due respect, where were all of you for the past 2.5 years? Did you offer to let them live with you? Did you contribute to their expenses? Did you help at all? Silence. Exactly. You want me to keep sacrificing because it's easier for everyone else. But I'm done. Don't contact me again. I blocked her too. Work became my refuge. I threw myself into a major project, leading a team to develop a new feature. My performance had been slipping for months, but now that I wasn't emotionally drained every night, I was sharp again, creative again. The old Rachel who'd earned her promotions, my manager noticed. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. You seem like yourself again. I was. For the first time in years, I was myself. 3 months went by, then 6, then a year. I got promoted again. Senior Software Engineer Level 2, with a raise to $220,000. I could actually save money now. I put a down payment on a vacation to Japan, something I'd always wanted to do but could never afford. I started dating. Not seriously at first, just casual coffee dates. Then I met someone, James, another engineer from a different company. He was kind and funny, and when I told him my story about my family, he didn't tell me I should forgive them. He said, "That must have been really hard. I'm glad you got out." Dr. Kim and I kept working together. We unpacked years of conditioning, of being told my worth was in what I could provide. We worked on recognizing manipulative behavior. We celebrated small victories, like the first time I said no to a friend's request without apologizing. "You're doing really well," Dr. Kim said in one session. "How does it feel?" "Lonely sometimes," I admitted. "I lost my whole family." "Did you lose them? Or did they reveal who they always were?" I thought about that a lot. 18 months after I kicked them out, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was Dylan. "Hey, it's been a while. I wanted to let you know that Amber and I broke up. She left me when she found out I couldn't afford the ring. Turns out she was only with me because she thought the family had money. Joke's on her, I guess. Anyway, things have been rough. I'm working retail now and living with a friend. How are you?" I stared at the message for a long time. There was no apology, no acknowledgement of what he'd put me through. Just a casual "how are you?" like we'd simply lost touch. I blocked the number. 2 weeks later, I got an email. My mother. The subject line said, "We need to talk." The email was long. She talked about how hard things had been, how my father's health was declining, how they'd had to move into a small apartment and money was tight, how she'd been thinking about everything that happened and she was sorry I'd felt hurt. Not sorry for what they'd done, sorry I'd felt hurt. Then came the real purpose of the email. Could they borrow some money? Just a few thousand to help with medical bills? I wrote back one sentence. "No, please don't contact me again." She tried twice more. I didn't respond. The hardest part wasn't saying no. The hardest part was realizing they'd never actually cared about me. They'd cared about what I could do for them. The money I could provide, the space I could offer, the problems I could solve. When I stopped providing those things, I stopped mattering to them. But here's what I learned. That wasn't love. Love doesn't demand you set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Love doesn't manipulate you with guilt. Love doesn't steal from you and call it family obligation. Real love respects boundaries. Real love wants you to thrive, not just survive. Real love doesn't give you ultimatums. I found real love in unexpected places. In Jasmine, my coworker who'd noticed I was struggling and cared enough to help. In Dr. Kim, who'd guided me through the hardest transition of my life. In James, who saw me as a person, not a resource. In cousin Jessica, who reached out to say she was proud of me. I built a new family. A chosen family. People who showed up for me without expecting me to pay for the privilege. Sometimes, late at night, I still feel guilty. I wonder if I was too harsh. If I should have tried harder. If I gave up too easily on people who raised me. But then I remember what Dr. Kim said. You tried for 2.5 years. You gave them $300,000. You gave them your home, your time, your energy. At what point is it enough? When you have nothing left to give? When you've destroyed yourself trying to fix people who don't want to change? She was right. I'd given them everything, and they'd demanded more. There was no amount that would ever be enough because they didn't see me as a daughter or sister. They saw me as an ATM. Last month, I got a text from an unknown number. It was Amber. "Hey, Rachel. I heard you're doing really well. I wanted to apologize for how things went down. I was young and dumb. Dylan and I aren't together anymore, and honestly, he was kind of toxic. Anyway, I'm trying to rebuild my life, and I was wondering if you had any advice. Or maybe we could grab coffee." I almost laughed. Even Amber was trying to use me now. I didn't block her. I just didn't respond. She wasn't worth the energy. Today, I'm 35. I live alone in my condo that actually feels like mine. I have a job I'm good at and that pays well. I have a boyfriend who respects me and friends who value me. I have savings, a retirement account, and plans for the future. I also have moments of sadness. Moments when I see other people with their families and feel that ache of loss. Moments when I wonder what life would be like if my family had been different. But mostly, I have peace. The lesson cost me relationships I thought I couldn't live without, but it gave me a life I didn't know I deserved. My choice to set boundaries had consequences. I lost my family of origin, but I gained myself. And that trade? That was worth it. If you're watching this and you recognize yourself in my story, if you have people in your life who only value what you can give them, I want you to know something. You're not selfish for wanting to be treated with respect. You're not cruel for setting boundaries. You're not abandoning anyone by refusing to be exploited. Family isn't just about blood. It's about respect, reciprocity, and genuine care. If the people in your life don't offer those things, it's okay to walk away. It's okay to choose yourself. I spent years believing that good daughters sacrifice endlessly, that family comes first no matter the cost, that saying no made me a bad person. I was wrong. Saying no made me a whole person. Setting boundaries made me healthy. Choosing myself made me free. They tried to make me choose between money and family. But the real choice was between their dysfunction and my well-being. Between their manipulation and my peace. Between being their ATM and being my own person. I chose me, and I'd make the same choice again. Where are you watching from today? Have you ever dealt with family members who expected you to fund their dreams while you struggled to keep your head above water? Drop a comment below. Let's talk about it. You're not alone in this. And remember, no is a complete sentence. You don't have to justify it. You don't have to defend it. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep anyone else warm. Choose yourself. You deserve it.